All right, so listen to this. Okay, we've got an asteroid, a newly discovered asteroid, and it might be on like a collision course with Earth.
Hmm.
Crazy, right? And guess what? A certain tech billionaire seems to have prepped for something big.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're talking about Asteroid 2024 YR4 and Mark Zuckerberg's Hawaiian Ranch.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you're ready for a deep dive into space potential disasters and maybe a little bit of billionaire paranoia, you've come to the right place.
Well, what I find captivating is the timing. It really makes you wonder,
Yeah.
are these two events, the asteroid discovery and Zuckerberg's bunker, are they just a bizarre coincidence? Or is there something more connecting them?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Let's start with the asteroid 2024 YR4.
Okay.
This thing was literally just discovered in December 2024.
Wow.
It's estimated to be the size of a Footmore field, maybe even bigger. And get this, it has a 2.2% chance of hitting Earth in 2032.
Oh, wow.
That might not sound like much, but when you're talking about an asteroid impact, even a small chance is enough to get your attention.
That's right. And what I find particularly interesting is how this asteroid was discovered.
Right?
It was spotted by the Atlas telescope in Chile,
Okay.
right after a near miss with Earth on Christmas Day 2024.
A near miss on Christmas? That's straight out of a movie.
I know. It's pretty amazing.
So what exactly does it mean that it's an Apollo-type asteroid? That sounds pretty ominous.
It's a classification based on the asteroid's orbit.
Okay.
Apollo-type asteroids have orbits that cross Earth's path,
Okay.
making them potential hazards.
Gotcha.
And in the case of 2024 YR4, its next close approach is projected for 2028.
Okay.
So we've got some time to observe it and hopefully get a better understanding of its trajectory.
Okay. That makes me feel a little better, but still, this thing is spinning like crazy, right? A full rotation in under 20 minutes.
It's true.
Imagine trying to land on that.
Yeah.
What else do we know about it? Like, what's it made of?
Well, that's what scientists are working on now.
Okay.
They use a technique called spectroscopy
Uh-huh.
to analyze the light reflected from the asteroid's surface.
Okay.
It's like taking a cosmic fingerprint.
Oh, wow.
By studying the specific wavelengths of light that bounce back, they can identify the minerals and elements present.
So it's like each asteroid has its own unique light signature,
Exactly.
and that tells us what it's made of.
Yes. And based on that, they believe 2024 YR4 could be one of three types.
Okay.
An S-type, mostly made up of silicate materials like rock and minerals.
Okay.
An L-type, thought to be fragments of larger bodies. Or a K-type, which are a bit of a mystery, containing a mix of silicates and metals.
Okay.
Knowing the composition is crucial,
Yeah.
because it can affect how the asteroid might behave if it enters Earth's atmosphere.
So we've got this asteroid, it's on our radar, and scientists are trying to figure out what it's made of, but the big question is, what happens if it actually hits us?
Well, the good news is it's not going to be a planet killer like the one that wiped out the dinosaurs.
Okay.
This asteroid is much smaller.
Right.
But that doesn't mean it can't cause serious damage.
Oh, no.
We're talking potentially thousands of times the energy release of a nuclear bomb.
Yikes. But now let's talk about that billionaire and his bunker.
Interesting.
This is where things get really interesting.
Oh, yeah, I'm listening.
All right, let's shift our focus to Mark Zuckerberg and his Hawaiian Ranch. It's a 1,400-acre property with multiple mansions, guest houses, even tree houses connected by rope bridges.
Wow. Sounds idyllic, right? Sounds amazing.
But underneath all that paradise lies a 5,000-square-foot underground facility.
Really?
And this is no ordinary basement.
I see.
No kidding.
Hmm.
We're talking about living spaces, escape hatches, and a bomb shelter-style door made of concrete and steel. I mean, you don't build something like that unless you're expecting something major, right?
It certainly raises questions.
Yeah.
And the timing of this bunker in light of the asteroid discovery
Yeah.
adds another layer of intrigue.
It definitely does. So what are we to make of this? Is Zuckerberg just a super prepared guy who happens to have a really high-tech bunker? Or is there something more to it? Is he privy to some information about 2024 YR4 that we don't know?
Well, that's what we're going to explore. But before we jump to conclusions, let's remember that the planning and development of this ranch predates the discovery of 2024 YR4.
Right.
So at least on the surface, there's no direct link between the two.
All right, so we need to look deeper.
Okay.
What are some other possible explanations for this bunker? Could this just be a normal thing for wealthy individuals in Hawaii, given the potential for natural disasters?
It's certainly true that Hawaii is prone to hurricanes,
Right.
earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions.
Of course.
So having some sort of fortified structure for safety wouldn't be unusual.
Yeah.
But the scale and sophistication of this facility go beyond typical disaster preparedness.
So we've got this asteroid just hurtling through space,
It's true.
a potential impact zone that spans continents, and a tech billionaire seemingly prepared for, well, something.
Right.
But before we get too deep into Zuckerberg's bunker, let's take a step back and really understand what a 2.2% chance of impact actually means. I mean, that's the key figure here, right?
It is, and while it might seem small, it's crucial to understand how scientists calculate that percentage and what it signifies in terms of risk. Remember, we're talking about a potential global event here, so even a small probability can carry significant weight.
Okay, so break it down for me. How did they come up with that 2.2% number, and what does it tell us about the actual likelihood of 2024 YR4 hitting Earth?
It all comes down to orbital mechanics and a lot of complex calculations. Scientists use data from telescopes to track the asteroid's movement, its speed, and its trajectory. They then create models to project its future path, factoring in gravitational forces from the sun planets and even other asteroids.
So it's like a giant cosmic pool table with all these gravitational forces nudging the asteroid this way and that.
That's a great analogy, and just like in pool, even a slight variation in the initial conditions can lead to a very different outcome. That's why the probability of impact isn't a fixed number. It changes as we gather more data and refine our models.
Okay, so 2.2% is our current best guess, but it could go up or down as we learn more about 2024 YR4's orbit.
Precisely, and that's why continuous monitoring is so crucial. The more we observe this asteroid, the better we can understand its behavior and predict its future path.
And speaking of prediction, we talked about the potential impact corridor, that massive swath of Earth that could be affected. But let's get real. What would an impact actually look like? I mean, is it just one giant explosion, or are there other things we need to worry about?
It's a complex event with a cascade of potential effects. The initial impact would release a tremendous amount of energy, creating a massive shock wave that could travel thousands of miles. Think of it like a supersonic earthquake radiating outwards from the impact site.
Okay, that's terrifying enough on its own. But what about the other effects? We've heard about things like intense heat wildfires and tsunamis. Are those all realistic possibilities?
Absolutely. The impact would generate extreme temperatures, vaporizing rock, and creating a superheated plume that could ignite widespread wildfires. And if the asteroid hits the ocean, we'd almost certainly see massive tsunamis that could inundate coastal regions thousands of miles away.
So it's like a domino effect of destruction, with each impact triggering a wave of secondary disasters. It's a stark reminder of just how vulnerable we are to these kinds of cosmic events.
It is, and it highlights the importance of preparedness both in terms of monitoring these threats and developing strategies to mitigate their impact.
Which brings us back to those mitigation strategies you mentioned earlier. What are some of the options scientists are exploring to potentially deflect an asteroid like 2024 YR4?
Well, the idea isn't to blow up the asteroid like in the movies. That would actually make things worse, creating a cloud of debris that could still be hazardous. Instead, the focus is on nudging the asteroid slightly off course enough to avoid a collision with Earth.
Okay, so how do you nudge a giant space rock?
There are several concepts being explored, each with its own advantages and challenges. One idea is to use a kinetic impactor, essentially a high-speed spacecraft, that would crash into the asteroid, transferring its momentum and altering the asteroid's trajectory.
So it's like a cosmic game of billiards using a spacecraft as the cue ball.
Exactly. Another idea is to use a gravity tractor, a spacecraft that would hover near the asteroid and use its own gravitational pull to slowly tug the asteroid off course. This would require more time but could offer more precise control over the asteroid's path.
It's amazing to think that we have the technology to potentially deflect an asteroid. It's like something straight out of science fiction.
It is, and it underscores the importance of continued investment in space exploration and planetary defense. These aren't just abstract concepts. They could be essential to our survival as a species.
All right, so we've covered the asteroid, the potential impact scenarios, and the incredible efforts being made to protect our planet. But now let's turn our attention back to Zuckerberg and that mysterious underground shelter. We've established that it's more than just a typical disaster preparedness measure. So what else could it be?
Well, we have to remember that Zuckerberg is a highly intelligent and forward-thinking individual. He's built a vast tech empire and has access to information and resources that most people can only dream of.
Right, so it's safe to say he's probably thought about a lot of different scenarios, both good and bad. What are some of the potential threats beyond natural disasters that might be on his radar?
Well, there are certainly global concerns that many experts believe could pose significant risks in the coming decades. Things like climate change, resource scarcity pandemics, political instability, even the potential dangers of artificial intelligence.
Whoa, that's a pretty bleak list. Is it possible that Zuckerberg is looking at these trends and thinking, I need a safe haven, a place to ride out the storm if things go south?
It's certainly a possibility. And it wouldn't be unprecedented. Throughout history, wealthy and powerful individuals have sought to insulate themselves from perceived threats, whether it's building fortified castles or creating elaborate escape routes.
But this is the 21st century, not medieval times. Do people really believe that a bunker, even a super high-tech one, can protect you from the kinds of global threats you just mentioned?
It's a complex question, and the answer likely varies depending on the individual and their specific concerns. Some might see it as a form of insurance, a way to increase their chances of survival in a worst-case scenario. Others might view it as a futile attempt to control the uncontrollable.
So is Zuckerberg being rational, paranoid, or maybe a bit of both? It's hard to say without knowing what's going through his mind, but one thing's for sure, this bunker is a powerful symbol, whether it's intended to be or not.
Absolutely.
But now let's take a closer look at that bunker itself. What are some of the features that make it so unique, and what can they tell us about the level of preparedness Zuckerberg might be aiming for?
Well, we know it's a 5,000 square foot underground facility, which is already significant. And it's not just bare bones survival space. We're talking living quarters, mechanical rooms, and an escape hatch, suggesting a level of comfort and self-sufficiency that goes beyond basic sheltering.
Okay, so it's not just a concrete box with some canned goods and a water filtration system. What are some of the more advanced features that stand out?
Well, the bomb shelter-style door made of concrete and steel is certainly a striking feature. It suggests a concern for security and a desire to withstand significant external forces. We also know that the facility is connected to the main residences through tunnels, which adds another layer of security and ease of access.
It's like a high-tech subterranean fortress. What about things like power, water, and food? Could this bunker sustain its occupants for an extended period?
That's a crucial question when it comes to preparedness. And while we don't have all the details, it's reasonable to assume that a facility of this scale would have provisions for long-term self-sufficiency.
So we're talking backup generators, water purification systems, maybe even some sort of hydroponic garden for fresh food.
Those are all possibilities, and it highlights the level of detail and planning that likely went into this project. It's not just about surviving, it's about maintaining a certain standard of living, even in the face of extreme adversity.
It's like a glimpse into a world. Most of us will never experience a world where the ultra-wealthy can seemingly insulate themselves from the chaos and uncertainty of the outside world. But does that really create true security? Or is it just an illusion?
That's a question worth pondering. What does it mean to be prepared for the future? Is it about individual survival or about collective resilience? Is it about retreating from the world or about engaging with the challenges we face? The universe is full of mysteries, and the pursuit of knowledge is a lifelong adventure. Stay curious, stay engaged, and keep exploring the world around you.